Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, we are back with some more Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links action, and as you can tell, we are going to be abusing the Spell Specialist and the Grass That's Greener cards, right? Or the That Grass is Greener card. Because, quite frankly, I don't like it, and I'm going to abuse it until it gets banned, basically. But, what's going on here is we are going to be using Spell Specialist, Grass That's Greener, Darklords. I was thinking of other decks that would be top tier using something like Spell Specialist, Grass That's Greener, and I was thinking, well, Darklords are really good when, you mill a bunch of cards and you have a bunch of cards within the grave, because you can activate tons of things and grab up a ton of monsters from the grave. And I was thinking of other such things that would be good to, put things into the grave. So this is what I came up with. I have played a few games, and so far, they're pretty fun. They're pretty good. Now, why are we playing this? Because Shiranui is playing a very similar style of deck. You run Spell Specialist, which, if your deck contains 5 or more spell cards with different names, you have an improved chance of having a spell card in your starting hand. And they did some data mining, and it appears that you actually have a high chance of getting 2 spell cards within your starting hand, which is really good for Darklords. But it's also really good for Shiranui, because that means that you're most likely going to get something like That Grass is Greener, because they only run the 5 spell cards. We have to kind of run a little bit more than that, but we do have 5 with different names, so that's why you see these 2 cards here. Now, before we get into the rest of this deck, first and foremost, here are some of the other cards that I thought that you could use. Don't worry about the extra deck, that's basically nothing. You could use something like Forbidden Chalice, you could use Forbidden Dress, you could use Necro Valley, you could use any of the Forbidden cards, Super Rush Headlong, Anti-Magic Arrows, Offerings of the Doomed, Acts of Despair if you so chose, right? You could run Cosmic Cyclone or Galaxy Cyclone, which is what I'm choosing to do here. Also, Dark World Dealings. You draw a card and then you discard a card, and each player does that, which is pretty good for Darklords. You get a card into the grave. There you go. Now you can start your combo. Some other interesting cards that I thought of was something like Valhalla, Hall of the Fallen. You can special summon a fairy monster from your hand if you control no monsters. There you go. Pretty simple. And then Dien Keto, the Cure Master. Basically, you gain 1,000 life points. And I was thinking that could be good too, since you are constantly going through life points using the Dark Lord effects. So I was like, that could also be useful. But I decided to go with Cosmic Cyclone and Galaxy Cyclone. Again, you could switch it out for Dark World Dealings or any of these other things, right? Necro Valley to prevent other people from playing, right? Just be careful with that, because then you can't play unless you get rid of it yourself, right? Then again, Galaxy Cyclone is probably the best one, since if it's sent to the grave, it still has an effect within the grave, and you can get rid of things like, a Necro Valley, or you can get rid of other things from like Element Sabers. You can get rid of their Palace of the Elemental Lords, or the other continuous trap that they have, Elemental Training. You can get rid of something like Dark Magic Circle. You can get rid of, there are a variety of things that you can get rid of that stay face up on the field. So, mostly you'd use it to get rid of field spells, but you could also get rid of any, like, equip spells or anything like that. So that's pretty useful as well. That's why we're running the Galaxy Cyclone. Now, this deck I wouldn't say is better than the standard Darklord deck, but I just want to show that, like, you can use That Grass Looks Greener in any deck that really plays at all around the grave, right? We even have Artifact Lancia, which can be special summoned using your Superbia onto the field, so if you send it to the grave, you can still grab it up and then have it ready to banish it, or to send itself to the grave to prevent banishing of cards, which if you have this in your hand or on the field, right, you can feel free to set your Sanctified Darklord at the end of your turn, if you're going first, right? And they don't have like any set spell or trap cards, because they won't be able to Cosmic Cyclone on their turn, because you can just chain your Artifact Lancia to prevent that. So that's something to be aware of as well. You can feel a little bit safer setting your Sanctified Darklord with the Artifact Lancia. Now, I only have the one Artifact Lancia. I'm trying to get a second one, but at the moment I'm only running one. I would probably take out like another Morningstar or another Tez or Nastin or something like that to put in a second Lancia, right? Now, the 5 spell cards that we're using is, obviously, we need triple banishment. That's super useful. Running Spell Specialist also increases your chance of getting something like banishment in your starting hand, which is super nice, right? Galaxy Cyclone, Cosmic Cyclone, get rid of back row. I think back row is the hardest thing to deal with as Darklords, so just running 2 of those spells just to kind of help a little bit more to deal with that back row. Then you have that Grass Look Screener, 3 of them. Again, we want to mill those cards as we can. And then we have Darklord Contact, obviously. Running the 2 that we can, which kind of means that you can't play some other things, some other really good cards, something like World Legacy Clash or Enemy Controller can't really be used. But Darklord Contact in and of itself, really good. Does have a graveyard effect, so there you go. And then obviously the Sanctified Darklord. And then I just run 3 of basically everything that I can. I only want 2 Desire, 2 Morningstar, and 2 Superbia in the deck. Honestly, I was considering taking out one of the Superbia, but I was like, it's good to have a higher chance to mill that card so that you can get summoning some of your other cards on onto the field. Plus, it does give you your Lancia if that does get milled. So, real quick, let's hop into some of the duel replays so I can show you how this deck works. So here we are up against Ishizu Ishtar, which means that most likely it's going to be Sealed Tombs, which is highly detrimental to a 30-card deck that wants to mill. Now, we do open up with that Grass Look Screener, and we do get to go first, which means that we're going to mill a whole bunch of cards. Then we are going to mill even more cards using Ixchel. We do happen to grab up a Contact, which is super useful. We do have a Banishment within our hand as well. So, Contact, Ixchel, Contact, Nastin, Banishment, search for Amdusk. Amdusk, we are going to use, after using our Banishment, to search up the Sanctified Darklord, to put the Sanctified Darklord into the grave, so that we can activate it from the grave. Then we're going to grab up a Tez, so that we have it in our hand. He's going to have himself the Elemental Hero Stratos. He's going to seal the tombs. Guess what? Just so you know, Sealed Tombs, read it, until the end of your opponent's next turn, neither player can banish cards from the graveyard or special summon monsters from the graveyard. Guess what that means? You can move cards from the graveyard to the deck. So what we do is we do that, we negate the Dark Cavalry's effect on the end phase, then we search up the Morningstar. Why do we search up Morningstar? Because it allows us to special summon 2 cards. I accidentally messed this up. I was only able to summon the Tez. That's fine. It also does mill cards. He activates his World Legacy Clash to banish the Dark Cavalry, to then send Tez, or to negate Tez's effect. We swing in to the Stratos because we don't want him to come back onto the field to immediately take us out, because he did have, lethal through our 0 attack Tez. So we swing into the Stratos, take 1800, pretty simple. Then we activate Contact, and I'm pretty sure we don't quite have a Superbia within the grave, which is fine. Then we mill after to grab up the to get the additional 1000 life points. We mill 2 cards. We did happen to mill a Banishment of the Darklords, which is pretty freaking useful. Then we grab up ourselves our Nastin after using Contact. Then we grab up Sanctified Darklord. I'm pretty certain that he's not playing anything that will banish the Sanctified Darklord, since he does have Stratos to pop things. So instead, what we're going to do is we are going to set that, and then that will allow us also to get Superbia into the grave, since we can activate this to send Superbia to the grave. So we activate Stratos, we activate Sanctified Darklord to negate his effect, grab up the extra 1,000 life points, then we negate his effect as well, and then I don't know why he's still boosted, because he is at 2,800. I think that may be a replay bug, because he is at 2,800 at this point. So he swings in, but we are now at 2,900. We grab up the Contact using our Ix-Shell. He activates, sends the Stratos to weaken our Ix-Shell. That's fine. Ix-Shell is going to activate to negate Dark Cavalry's effect. And yeah, as you can see, there's a replay bug. But we swing in over it, since we're 200 above with our Morning Star. And then we end the turn with the with this Stratos coming back. Doesn't matter. Even through 2 World Legacy clashes, we're able to get there. And as you can tell, there was a lot going on in the graveyard. So, when he sealed tombs, that was pretty bad. But what he didn't realize is that we can still activate cards to search and to, you know, we can still activate effects. We just can't special summon, right? And we're not banishing anything, so it doesn't really hurt us as badly. It does hurt if it's a turn 1 sealed tombs. If it's not a turn 1 sealed tombs, doesn't really matter, right? So let's hop into the next replay. Alright, so here we are going second against Ishizu Ishtar once again, which most likely, again, means sealed tombs. We activate Spell Specialist, grab up ourselves actually a pretty good hand, but without the mill. So, this is an interesting hand, and we are going up against Shiranui without grass that's greener. They are running sealed tombs, though, which can be detrimental. If they seal tombs, they don't seal the tombs, which was a misplay, I think, from them. I think had they sealed tombs, it would have been highly detrimental. We would have had to go for a Nastin play, which is a lot harder. We're going to Galaxy Cyclone. We're going to take out the Cosmic Cyclone, which is actually pretty good for us. We grab up a Superbia. Why do we grab up Superbia? Because we have Contact and we are not under sealed tombs, which means we can grab up both Superbia and Ix-Shell from the grave. Then we grab up our Sanctified Darklord, because I'm like, okay, we took out the back row, that's fine. Then he activates Raigeki Break, and we discard our Tez that we did happen to draw at the start of that turn. Now he seals the tombs, that's fine. We're going to negate the effect by sending Superbia. He's going to activate his World Legacy Clash to destroy our Ix-Shell by sending Archfiend to the grave. Now we sent Superbia because we wanted to negate the effect of Shiranui Samurai Saga, just because we needed to negate, and we were going to be destroyed anyway, so I was like, well, let's just negate, and there we go. Turns out it was highly detrimental. That's fine though. We're going to grab up Nastin. Since we are under sealed tombs, we are going to discard the 2 cards. We're going to grab up Nastin. Nastin is going to activate to grab up our 3rd Tez. 2 Tez are in the grave. 1 was sent there because of Nastin, and then the other one we use to save our Ix-Shell, and then we have the 3rd Tez within our hand, preventing a destruction. Now, he obviously couldn't do anything after we destroyed his Samurai Saga, right? He can't go into a level 8 nearly as easily to actually boost over and swing into our Nastin and actually do damage to us. So at that point, he just decides to surrender. But we had a lot of options since we were no longer going to be under sealed tombs that next turn. That's why he surrenders. Because, I mean, if we look at the things that were in my graveyard, we had, you know, several monsters. I know for a fact we had Sanctified Darklord. We had what looks like a Contact as well. I mean, there were just a lot of options that we had there. So, there you go. Again, milling cards, just get as many monsters into the grave as you can, and then activating the effects from the graveyard. Pretty freaking good. Let's hop into the next replay. Alright, and this time we are going second, once again, against Bastion Misawa. Running a 21 card deck. We do happen to open up with the grass that looks greener. We start by activating our what is this called? Galaxy Cyclone to take out the one back row that he did have, which was a Floodgate Trap Hole. Then we're going to activate Nastin to grab Nastin onto the field. Then we are going to contact Amdusk. Amdusk is going to activate once again to contact Ukobak. Ukobak is then going to send a banishment to the grave. We're going to swing in for 2,600. There we go. Now, he is playing Yosenju. We're going to negate the effect of the Yosenju card. Now it is stuck on the field and we can swing into it, right? Now, we grab up our Sanctified Darklord because we do need the additional health. He discards his Yosenju Sujik to activate, or to prevent his death, basically. Now he sets 2 cards. We activate Grass That's Greener, mill a couple more cards. We milled really poorly there. We milled... Oh, no. We actually milled really good. I thought it was a Grass That's Greener. Anyway, we milled really well. We're going to activate to grab up ourselves the Tez. We're going to send another card to the... Or he is going to send a card back to the hand using Yosenju Sword Sting. Then he's going to activate Kama. We're going to negate it using our Sanctified Darklord. Negate the effect. He's stuck on the field now. Quick as the Wind activates. Interesting spell. He has Sujik, as well as Rising Air Current, which increases his attack to 3,000 after all of the effects. But this basically just boosts him up an extra 500. We prevent the destruction thanks to Tez. Then we destroy using Galaxy Cyclone, the field spell. Then Cosmic Cyclone to take out his Cosmic Cyclone. Then we grab up the... and we chained it there. Let me explain this. So, here's what I wanted to have happen. I was going to activate my effect to grab up the Desire from the grave using Amdusk. And then I chained that to... Or I chained to that Cosmic Cyclone to take out his back row in case he had something that would negate. It would instead negate our Cosmic Cyclone instead of negating our search to grab up Desire. Because Desire, grabbing that, equals lethal. So what I do is I chain it just in case he does have a negate. Most likely didn't have a negate, but just in case. Chain it, grab up the Desire, then I tribute summon for the Darklord Amdusk, and then swing in, or tribute the Darklord Amdusk for the Darklord Desire to swing in for lethal onto the Yosenju Kama. So this is very standard, normal Darklord, basically, except now you just have more cards within the grave to work with. And one thing that I really like about this is that you do have triple Tez, which is super nice. Normally you can't fit in triple Tez, you can normally only fit in 2, but it is super nice to have 3 of them so that, you know, if you do have to send one to the grave due to other effects, you can still have that protection that is so vital for Darklords. Alright, let's hop into the deck one more time to show you what I think about it. 1 second. Now, talking about this deck real quick, do I think that this is honestly a great deck and that it's going to be the new way to play Darklords? Absolutely not. Do I think that it's really good in a mirror matchup or in a 30-card deck meta? Yes, because guess what? You have a lot more plays as Darklords, opening up with Spell Specialist to grab your Banishment of the Darklord or your Contact Guaranteed, or even just grabbing Grass That's Greener, right? You have a lot more options than something like Shiranui. Shiranui, using Spell Specialist and that Grass Looks Greener, is the reason why they are currently Tier 1, right? So if you're running into a lot of Shiranuis and you're really having a bad time, first of all, consider teching in Artifact Lancia. Second of all, then think about playing a 30-card deck, or just more cards within a deck. For example, you could run a deck like this. Whoops. Right? Something like that. Or you could still run your triple Tez. You could still, just like a 25-card deck. Something like that. You could still do something like that, and then, you know, run Compensation. Or you could run Destiny Draw or Draw Sense, Speller Trap, or something like that to still run through things. And you could change these out for anything really. Any sort of tech cards, you could add another one in, take out the Tez, do triple Cosmic Cyclone or something like that, right? Just because that way it prevents that exceptional 10-card mill from the Shiranui player, or any player that so chooses to have 30 cards and run That Grass is Greener. But overall, I do really enjoy this deck. I found it to be really entertaining, really fun. And while it may not be the way to play Darklords, again, as I said, Tez, having 3 of them, really useful, right? Having the Double Desire, having Morningstar, being able to mill more cards, right? Super useful. Being able to have things guaranteed in the graveyard, super useful. It does struggle because it is 30 cards. You're not going to grab your combo every time. And since you are running Spell Specialist, yeah, you're most likely going to get something like Banishment or Grass That's Greener, but you're not always. In that last replay, we didn't even grab up any of these cards, right? We just grabbed up the one Grass That Looks Greener, and that's good. But again, if you don't have something like Nastin in your hand, that can be a death sentence, because then you're just stuck with nothing to do. So, or you could grab up, you know, a Galaxy Cyclone or a Cosmic Cyclone, and then it's just like, well, that didn't help. So overall, I do think it's fun. I do think it's good. I would say that if you're just really sick of losing to Shiranui 30-card decks, consider playing this. But if you're not, don't worry about it. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys did indeed enjoy, a like is very much so appreciated. And if you want to see more content like this, just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye.